It's probably
I started on morning off of...
which was mine? Yes, it's mine.
What's yours?
That's yours.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Joe. How are
Hey, Joe, how you doing? Good. Nice to see you. Good to see you.
It's different here.
Chairs.
Chairs, I think.
The chairs, something...
Raise the chairs.
Oh, it's brilliant. I was going to say thank you.
Oh, let's stand up. Let's go.
Stands up all
Ready to go?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. What's Peter's last name? Your fellow. Mr. Yovanovich, I think you're in the way of the public there, Mr. Noto. You're between me and the viewing audience at home, don't you? I'm joking. Mr. Yovanovich, you want to lead us in the pledge for tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Watnick, would you call the roll, please?
Okay. The Wrightstown Park Commission meeting, Tuesday, July 19th. Commissioner Sach? Here. Commissioner Salanitro? No. Commissioner Feinstein?
Here.
Commissioner Pilla? Commissioner French?
Yep.
And Commissioner Carvin.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, I think Commissioner Salnitro's on his way.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We've done the pledge, and we'll go straight to comments from the public. So can we, please.
If you could state your name and address, please.
My name is Linda Wells. I live at 27 Radcliffe in Rye, and I'm also on the board of the Friends of Ryetown Park. And I thought it was an opportunity tonight to just bring the Commission up to date on a couple of projects that we're considering doing and actually have started in limited fashion. They involve primarily the two major gateways in the park at the corners of Rye Beach Avenue and Forest Avenue and Dearborn and Forest. Both entrances have been a little neglected over the years. Some of the plantings that were put in place have, just through attrition, not survived, and it was time to move things around a little bit and maybe expand. So at the Rye Beach corner, this spring, we planted some impatiens just to give it a little jazz, and transplanted a few of the larger plants that were outside of the wall. Then inside the wall, or behind the wall, to the left as you enter the park, there was a tree stump there for many moons that was finally removed, which allowed us to create a planting bed behind that wall, which was sorely needed to balance what was opposite it. So we had our sprinkler system that was in place there expanded to include that, so we have irrigation. We have a few temporary plants in there, but are putting together a more concrete plan long-term for it. At the Dearborn corner, there's a lot to be done. And we are looking at the possibility of putting plantings both in front of the bench on the corner itself and then behind the wall where there now exists a large sign, a cherry tree that's encroaching on it, and it's kind of a mishmash. So the problem with having anything there before was there's no irrigation at that corner. So we had the sprinkler company who now services the park expand the sprinkler system to that corner, so now we can have vegetation that will last. And our thought is to put in native species whenever possible for sustainability purposes. And we've actually applied to the Cornell University Master Gardeners Program to enlist their help with both projects. So if that comes to fruition, it would be a great victory for the park, I think. It would give us some long-term planning capabilities, and they are very focused on using native species whenever possible for obvious reasons. For invasive species we now have in the park, for example, are a little problematic. We have an abundance of Norway maples, which are invasive not in terms of being disease-ridden, but they propagate very easily, and they're not very durable as a tree. So when we get huge storms that come through, the preponderance of repair to the trees is in that area. So I think the guidance of this group, if it proves possible, will be a great benefit to us and to the park.
How do you approach them? Do they do this kind of thing regularly?
They are an outreach group. For people to qualify for their Master Gardener program, they have to volunteer a certain number of hours within communities in the area. And being a not-for-profit, we're kind of at the top of the list of the types of groups that they would reach out to help.
That's wonderful. It sounds like it'd be a real coup.
Yeah, one of the things they're insisted on, however, is that whatever project it is, have some kind of an educational component to it. So our thought would be to create a native species garden that we could almost use as a demonstration area for scouts who are looking for merit badges, or if the Master Gardeners would like to come and give a talk to people. I mean, there are opportunities for both their group and ours and the park if this works out. So we're hoping to hear in the next week or so.
Well, one of the things we've done in the town is really try and link the three communities we serve. There's three high schools: Blind Brook High School, Portchester High School, and Rhinebeck High School. And one of the things we tried to do is, since we have each of the communities we serve is different makeup of people, and we've put together one project where we get the students from the three high schools working on a project, but obviously part of the interest in the project is to generate diversity capital and get kids from different high schools working together.
That's great.
So if there was any way to do this, and of course extend it to Rice City, I think would be another, so we get the high schools and youth involved. There's certainly a dearth of youth activities, and I can commit right now, we would have some funding to support that from the town of Rye for a program like that if we wanted to extend the education, really get the youth involved. So
that's great. We've actually had some interest on the part of some of the students in Rye who are desperately seeking service hours right now to get diplomas, and there's very little that's, ongoing right now in the park with which they can help. But we've talked about things like a spring cleanup day and, bulb planting and things like that where we could enlist the help of groups of kids.
Wonderful. I think Blind Brook, Mayor Feinstein, has a similar service obligation, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I can just call the guidance offices, and which is what we did at Rye, just to start the process to find out what you need to do to fit within their program. So,
I think I saw Mr. Arcaro come in. We have this Model American Community Project where, there's so many different efforts going on in the community. If we can bring some of them together and get the municipalities working closer with the schools, I think the community only benefits. And Mr. Arcaro is to make sure if you get together, Mrs. Wells, afterwards.
I just wrote him a letter, actually,
oh, wonderful,
in response to his enlisting as to whether he could meet with us and talk to find out what our group is all about and how it might influence.
Fantastic, great.
So.
Terrific.
Maybe
he's here tonight, so you should.
Sooner than later.
Beautiful.
Okay. I don't think that anything that we're currently considering doing is interruptive in terms of the operation of the park. The sprinkler system at Dearborn is being installed in increments and will be done by the end of the month, but it's not a big deal as I understand it with trench digging and everything else. And the Friends is funding all of this, so.
Wonderful.
There's no expense to the park.
Are you getting the support? I think, Mr. Laurie, you are our liaison to the Friends of Ragtown Park. Is Mr. Laurie doing a good job? No, I'm joking. Are you getting the support you need
sure,
and coordinating from the staff? Great.
Yes,
okay.
I would say from a structural standpoint, in terms of the projects, we're more in touch with Fred Joffrey, just so
Terrific.
that
Good.
his staff is aware of
Perfect.
a presence in the park that's, legitimate.
Great.
In terms of workers. The other thing is, it's my understanding that the company that has just recently treated the duck pond is in fact going to send a proposal to both Bishop, I believe, or Fred, and a copy to us recommending an undersurface circulation system, which we hope, or which they tell us, will avoid the algae problem that we have yet again this year. And the algae problem this year was again because of delayed activity in getting it treated. But apparently there's an underwater system of perforated piping and that forces air into the water under the surface, and that's what oxygenates the water, cuts down on the algae, and keeps the water circulating. What's above the water that you see now in the way of sprays is purely its decoration. It doesn't really function as a cleaning operation for the pond. So we'll wait to hear from him, and Friends is certainly open to the idea of helping to fund that if that's what it's going to take to get it done to save the pond, because it's one of the assets that brings people to that park, and if it's allowed to drop off the edge each season, it just doesn't seem sensible.
I think we dropped the ball on that issue this year, and we can't allow that to happen again.
Right.
And so we need to put in place something that, where we don't find ourselves again in the middle of the season. So if this proposal gets us there, terrific, but at a minimum, we should have an automatic contractual date, be it January, February, so that they're there at the beginning of the season, and we dropped the ball on that this year. Okay.
And then the last thing that I thought I might mention is we've been in pretty close contact with Bartlett Tree. They're the keepers of the trees in the park, and the fellow with whom we deal is terrifically knowledgeable about not only just the horticultural part of it, but the historical nature of the park itself. He works quite often in historical settings and understands about native species and that kind of thing. Anyway, with his guidance, he suggested something that we had talked about years ago and just never followed through on, I think probably because of finances more than anything, but he has strongly recommended that we consider doing an inventory of the trees in the park through a GPS system that they have, where their crew comes in and through laser-generated backpack operations, pretty Star Wars looking, they can target and shoot each tree in the park, photograph it, identify it, describe it, and have an inventory of it, not only for them but for us and the park, which would be really very helpful in being proactive in terms of maintenance and long-range planning. Knowing what we have in the event of an invasive insect or disease that's coming across the country, they can react more quickly in terms of an educated decision on what we should do. And then we as a group, in terms of long-range planning, even if it doesn't happen for 10 or 15 years, can say, as the Norway maples are declining, we're earmarking them for being either pulled out or letting to lay fallow, and we will replace them with something more durable, more in keeping with the history of the park, so that we can make better decisions long-term instead of, reacting as things come across our path.
Do you have any sense of what that would cost, Linda?
We do. In fact, I think we submitted a copy of that to Bishop.
My recollection was $7,000. This was brought up about 4 or 5 meetings ago.
Right. And something that could be done in stages. It's not something that has to be comprehensive in nature right out of the chute. So if we could at least get the inventory part of it done, that would be great. And in terms, and in my estimation, the trees are really probably one of the biggest assets that we have. And they're kind of treated as a stepsister. Plantings come and go, but trees are not easily replaced. So the more effort we can expend in protecting them and having a long-range plan for the park, I think it's the best for everybody involved. So we had asked if maybe the commission would be in a position financially to share some of the expense of it, but if not, it's important enough to us that we feel that we need to move forward in some fashion, maybe not right now, but certainly in the spring, something like that. So something to throw in the mix. I think that the focus of the commission has, and understandably so, been a financial one, but I think if you overlook the fact that it's the park itself and the beauty of the park that draws people there, and that maybe there has to be a little bit more of an investment in that as part of the physical plan over the long term. So that's basically it. And here's a little brochure that we just did a mailing on.
Thank you.
It's about our group.
Thanks so much.
And it kind of advertises our website. We invite everybody to come to the website, and if there are things with regard to the park that you'd like to include, Bill's very good about letting us know about things, and we're happy to have a little blurb on the website, about the concert series. We have the whole schedule there, for example, and Art of the Park was on the website, so that's basically it.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Wells. I again want to take this opportunity to thank the Friends for all the hard work they do. I think we definitely need to one of the near-term objectives for me is to come up with a long-term plan for the park. And obviously, we focus more on the infrastructure and buildings, but clearly I agree with you that the biggest asset we have are the trees. And if we clearly need a plan for that as well. It sounds like the inventory analysis would be could be a great first step.
And we have some thoughts on paper in terms of different areas of the park that we feel we would like to see some changes made that we might be able to facilitate. And so the more we can glean from the Cornell group and from Bartlett at this point will allow us to give you some notes that might make more sense.
That'd be really helpful. I mean, one of the things we're going to talk tonight is the capital funding going forward. Mm-hmm. And, I think we may look to take a page out of the county's playbook where they put out an RFP for Playland and got a number of different responses. And, we might want to try to do something for Ragtown Park. I think if you look at the capital expenditures, there's a range of guesstimates, but we're looking for $12 to $14 million in capex, really to bring the infrastructure back where it should be. And that, in this economic environment, is awfully difficult. So I think we need to be creative about looking at private-public partnerships, and we may want to create a committee to more seriously look at that. We've talked about it in various meetings, but now, we want to begin to execute on that. And so clearly we'd like to
play
get
an active part in that.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. We'd love to have you and the Friends play very much of an active part in that.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Before you leave tonight, speak to David Blank, who's in the audience. He just inventoried all the trees at the Osborne home, so he can probably tell you a lot about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name's Maureen Boniello, and I was born in Rye, grew up in Rye, and moved to Portchester. And I'm here tonight to discuss the beach. I go to Oakland Beach. You guys did a great job on increasing the handicap parking there. There used to be like maybe 25 parking spaces, and now there's more than double that. I'm handicapped. I park my car in the handicap spot and go in the south gate. When I got onto the beach this season, however, I was, to say so disappointed doesn't cover it. It's a gravel pit. It's not a beach. You have to dig down 6-8 inches before you find sand. It's large stones. You need a thick sole to walk on it. There's glass in it. And again, to say I'm disappointed doesn't cover it. The middle beach, however, some commonly calling it Rye Beach because Rye people go to that beach. The sand there is good. Playland Beach, it's fantastic. It's like sugar. I realize that there's financial issues involved with dealing with the beach. However, I feel the necessary preparation wasn't done. That's my first issue. My second issue is, after getting onto the beach, the south gate closes whenever. There's an announcement made last Saturday. It was 3:30. The beach is open until 5. The beach used to be open until 6. Now it's 5. But to have to leave the beach at 3:30 on a Saturday after you're planning on staying longer, it's not right. Anyone that has difficulty walking, you see immediately. There's action on the beach. People get up. They start putting their things away. Saturday before that, it was 4 o'clock. I saw a veteran. I saw many seniors. Most of us go with a cart. We put everything in the cart. That's the only way to get there. You have to put everything in the cart. And so to go through a turnstile isn't possible. To go to the middle exit isn't possible. You'll see, I don't know, how many of you have been to Oakland Beach on the board right now? How many of you been? To Oakland Beach or Rye Beach?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, but could you just help me understand we usually talk about North Beach and South Beach, but I presume what you're talking about is there's three entrances into the park.
Yes, South Beach entrance.
Right, so you have the one that's off the road there.
Yes, nearest all of the handicap
Right, and then you
parking.
have the one with the steep incline.
That's the middle one.
Right, and then you have the
And then
North Beach.
North has no incline, has stairs.
Stairs, right. So
Right.
which is the one that you usually use?
The South Beach,
All the way,
the end, yeah.
the end, right. And then
Closest
the
to
one,
handicap parking.
gotcha. And then the one that's difficult in the middle there, I guess you're calling Rye Beach, next to Seaside Johnny's.
Northgate, I think it's the
That-
middle beach.
that's-
It's Rye Beach.
Well,
That's the middle gate
the middle
you're
gate,
talking about.
right. And that's difficult to exit because,
No, the south gate has a turnstile and an incline. It's the closest thing to a handicap entrance or exit that you have available for the people of our community.
Right.
It's the closest.
but I'm just trying to understand, is it the reason it's used by the seniors and people
And
that are
it's not
handicapped?
just seniors, it's moms with carriages
Sure.
and...
When I go with my family, and I know exactly what you mean about lugging up that incline on the middle of the beach and it's slippery and it is dangerous, and I fully appreciate that. So I'm just trying to understand
You're talking about the middle one.
Yes.
I'm talking about the south gate.
but I'm just trying to understand which one you use.
South gate.
Right.
It's closest to the handicap parking.
And exactly. So, but the metal gate is you don't use because it's too far from the handicap parking, or because of the incline.
Well, first of all, the handicap parking is by the south gate. Why would
Right.
one walk from that handicap parking through the lot, through the opening that leads to the two pavilions, and then make a left and go down a steep incline? I mean, you'd have to be not thinking straight to do that, you know,
Right.
because that's not made
Okay.
for handicap. The south gate, like I say, is the closest thing to a handicap entrance exit that we've
Okay.
got there. Yeah. So, like I said, when people go to the beach from our communities, you've changed the time of the closing of the beach from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I don't know when that happened, but that's the case. And then to have to leave the beach earlier than that, it's not acceptable. And the beach isn't acceptable. If the middle beach sand is fine, it's great, really. Why not Oakland Beach? If you go down there, you would not be able to walk without a thick sole on your foot. You can't walk with flip-flops because the gravel gets into the shoe. So that affects just about everybody. And I'd like you to look into it.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Maybe let's start with the second issue first.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of solutions. If we were to close the beach at 3:30 and we had the golf carts available for handicap and senior to take you from the metal gate to the handicap part, does that solve the problem or still doesn't solve the problem?
Joe, with the American Disabilities Act, disabled people don't have to do that.
No, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just trying to solve the problem.
It would bring attention to the people, and
Okay.
that's not what anybody would want.
Right.
Who would want that?
So, and why are we closing the south gate then, Fred? Is that
Basically
to-
has to do with our watching our
Costs, right, right.
I had a couple
Yes.
comments.
Come on up, just come up to the mic, Fred,
Yeah.
please. Thanks.
Fred and I talked about it.
Yeah.
You've
A
got
number of times.
Yep.
You've got two people, two women at the gate, and a security guard. Now, last week I went, and Bishop called me back on the phone. Right, so I was not ignored. But here's the deal. I was told by Bishop that the reason for two people to be in that booth was one gal taking the money, the other gal putting the bracelet on. Well, I've got a confession to make to you guys. Because every time I go to the beach, one girl takes my ticket, she slides it through, and she's the same one that puts my bracelet on.
And what does the other one do?
Watching.
Okay. You should just tell me that, yeah.
Well, I didn't know that till Monday, till I spoke with Bishop.
There's
Say,
two-
we hadn't, you had told me that it was because of financial reasons that the gate had to be closed. Also, when I left at 3:30, I said to the young lady at the gate, I said, why is it closing at 3:30? Because it's a big deal for me, as you know, Fred, for me to go to my car, put all the stuff in the trunk of the car, and then I've got to walk around to see my friend. And the gal at the gate said, it's a means of saving money today. She said they let us know last minute that they wanted us to leave at 3:30. I had mentioned it to Bishop, and, I'm just glad that my kids don't work at the beach, because unless there's an act of God where it's thundering and lightning, I'd want my kid to be paid for the hours they were scheduled. Call me crazy. But anyway,
Thank you.
so.
I'll answer those one at a time, all right?
Thank you for your comments.
When I get the information that the South Beach or the North Beach is having no activity for over half hour or 45 minutes, they actually give me a number. We've had 4 clients go through in the last 40 minutes. We generally shut down the South Beach. There are 2 people in the booth for 2 reasons. One is for taking the money, and the other's for putting the bands on, and they also break each other. Now, she alerted me to something that now I'll make sure that doesn't happen anymore. As far as, I tried to come up with a solution for her, and I actually asked her if she could just let one of the lifeguards know that she's leaving when we close that side. He would contact me on the 2-way, and I'd have a security guy open up the gate there for her or anyone else.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's sort of what I was thinking. We want to find a solution for you. We don't want you to go to the beach. And again, when I lug stuff all the way down, the last thing you want to do is lug everything down there. You finally pull in around 2:30, and you find that the gate's closed at 3:30. So I want to find a solution. And does that work if you simply contact the lifeguard and we would open?
I'll be honest with you. 2 people at each gate. Again, every time I go in, the same person that swipes my card gives me my bracelet. And the other person watches. And then there's a security guard there as well. My feeling is, why not switch around the scheduling? Stagger the scheduling.
Well, let's take one issue at a time. Sorry, Mr. Joffrey. Sorry. Okay, but let's take one issue at a time. I think as a general rule, we can review the staffing. We have 2 people in the booth for those reasons, and also obviously there's a check. It's a cash business. We want to make sure that everybody stays vigilant. So that's currently the reason we have 2, and we can certainly review that. But that's not what's the issue on the table today. The issue on the table today is we're trying to accommodate you and the other seniors that are adversely affected by our effort to there's a huge pressure, as you'll hear as we get later into the meeting, to keep costs down this year. And really, I want to thank the staff for all the hard work. We want to really reduce expenditures to an absolute minimum, because that's one thing we can control. But I don't want you to be adversely affected as a result of that. So I'm just wondering if that solution where you contact the lifeguard and we open that south gate to accommodate you and any other persons that are in that situation, if that works, if that solves your problem.
Well, honestly, I'd rather the South Gate just be open as long as the beach is open.
Well, yeah. I think it's a question of everybody, giving a little bit. And, in an ideal world, sure. In an ideal world, the other reason we went from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m. is because, again, we're trying to save costs, and that was a big cost saver for us, because we have an 8-hour day rather than a 9-hour day where we need to schedule 2 shifts. So, we're here trying to find the right balance between, economic savings for the community and providing
still provide an excellent service